Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Just a moment. Good morning, and welcome to the first of 3 monthly talks on the Isha Upanishad to be given by Pravrajika Sridharaprana with a PowerPoint presentation. It's a very short Upanishad, only 18 verses, and covers a lot of ground in those 18 verses. So I'll invite Sridharaprana to give her first talk, and it'll be followed by a question and answer session.
Invocation mantras. Puranamadam. The first mantra, the Puranamadam. Well, before going into the Upanishads, just a brief introduction. It's a general introduction, not particularly about the Isha Upanishad. Still, the dharma or philosophy taught in the Vedas is of twofold nature, characterized by pravritti, that is outward action, and nivritti, inward meditation, meant for the even stability of the world, which are meant to ensure the true, what they call abhyudaya, the socio-economic welfare. So Upanishads are not always the otherworldly. It cares even for this. So abhyudaya, the actions, what we do in the world, and nishrayas, spiritual freedom of all beings. Both the dharmas have been taught in the Vedas. According to Shankaracharya, whose commentary we are trying to follow, path of action and the path of knowledge cannot be pursued by a person at the same time, one and the same time. Both action and meditation cannot be. There's a reason. Why? Because the goal of the former is attainment of happiness in this relative world. Take any person, common person, he feels should be happy. Just a minute, sorry, please. I forgot to wish the mothers here Happy Mother's Day. I'm so sorry. I was taken away with this philosophy. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers, particularly to mothers and to everybody in general. You know, according to Vedanta, mother is a principle where you find love, compassion, care, concern, and self-effacement. Wherever these qualities are there the mother principle is active. As such, gender doesn't mean anything. So motherhood, motherliness, it's all about the principle. Anyone can. Whoever has these qualities, unto them is the salutations. Because the Chandi says, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matri Rupena Samsthita. Salutations to that mother principle in all beings. It didn't say only Strishu, Matrishu or Strishu in the mothers or in the women. No, it's Sarva Bhuteshu, all beings. So wherever this principle is active, these qualities are there, the mother principle is active in them. And as such, we bow down to those principles. And coming back to our philosophy, so the goal of an ordinary person involved in the world activity is to be happy. In search of happiness only, we work, First comes the desire, then comes the action to fulfill our desire. So a person who has this in its motive, as his motive or his aim, cannot have a nishreyas, or what I called the ultimate spiritual emancipation, where the world is unreal, your very doership is not there, your ego is not there. So, and a person of meditation or who is practicing spiritual, who aims at spiritual goal, his goal is immortality through the knowledge of the identity between Brahman and Atman, the reality outside and the reality within in, the unity of both the realities. So when actions are performed, but Shankara says, but when actions are performed according to the scriptural injunctions, selflessly, slowly that may prepare the aspirant for a desire for liberation through the knowledge. So this is the thing. When I say path of action, don't get confused with karma yoga. Karma yoga in itself is a path for realization. So karma yoga is different from the path of action. What I'm saying here what we mean. Here, path of action is plain nature. One does according to one's own nature with the idea or the knowledge that one's individuality is real. Yes, I'm a human being. I'm a psychophysical organism. I need to enjoy. And especially this is so prominent and so obvious in this, at the stem of our life. So and the desire for enjoyment is very keen, and its rewards too. And the one thing, the effect of karma, actions, whatever you do, they are produced. I do an action and I get a result. So it's produced, and then it can be lost too, because there are so many factors. I do some karma, but I can't expect always it will give the same results. It may bring sometimes adverse result because so many factors are involved in action. And then, of course, it's ego-oriented. I'm the doer, I'm the enjoyer. These factors are there. But whereas in the pure path of knowledge, that is Nivritti Marga, what the Veda said, one's own body, mind, and the whole world around is impermanent. The aspirant understands this. And as such, he wants to know, is there any substantial reality behind this ever-changing world? And the result, what he gets through his analysis or whatever, is not something created. He discovered. It was already there. It is there. The self is already there. The pure Atman is already, only you did not know. Through a process of purification, you only discovered that you are an eternal being, not a petty, finite creature subject to suffering. So this is just the general idea I'm giving. The Isha Upanishad, of course, it belongs to Yajurveda. So I will chant the invocation mantra of the Upanishad. Om Purnamadha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What is visible is the infinite. What is invisible is also infinite. Out of the infinite being, the finite has come out. It's not the finite, infinite has come out. Yet, being infinite, only infinite remains. The invisible, Purnam Adha, Purnam Idam. This is the peace mantra chanted, and it precedes the Isha Upanishads and other Upanishads belonging to this Yajurveda. You know the 4 Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva Veda, 4 are there. The third is this Shukla Yajurveda. This mantra is very profound and very significant and concentrates in few lines the thoughts of the whole of the Upanishads. There are technical words, these are. Purnam adha, purnam idam. Adha, idam. Adha means that. Idam means this. Idam is demonstrative, this. That is what can be grasped through the senses, sense experience, including mind. And it stands for the whole of manifested universe, space, time, change. And thinking minds have questioned what this world is that impinges so much on us. So the journey of science is steadily towards this reality. What is this universe? That is, I see. The whole of cosmos is indicated by this word, idam, this. And then there is another word. And it says, this world is full, infinite. And that is that which is not seen. That is also infinite. So when we study the nature, we understand there is a unity behind manifold. It's not perceptible to our senses, but indicate that which is not perceptible to our in senses or the mind is indicated by this word, adha. Purnam adha. Far away, invisible, transcendent. Behind this, relative, beyond space and time, denoted by the word adha. It also can mean God, tat, causeless cause, the ground, the basis of the universe, the goal of the universe. All this is indicated by this one single word, adha. So, purnamadha, purnamidam. That is full, this is full. So, though the universe has emerged from this full Brahman, the full is not affected. It always remains the same. According to Vedanta, this whole universe is a projection. It's like a mirage. The desert is not affected by the mirage. Or the classic example it gives is this snake and the rope. The rope is not affected by the snake, what you see. Whatever you see, and even the poets say, things are not what they say. What you see is not the same. So that is, though this universe has come out of that infinite, infinite always remains infinite, isn't it? Infinite minus subtracted is infinite, infinite multiplied is infinite, infinite added by infinite is infinite, infinite is infinite. So this is only coming and going, something has come out, something has gone out. This is relatively to understand. So the whole of this Upanishad has got some paradoxical statements. So infinity is infinity. So what the Upanishad is trying to give us is, you are behind, in front of a profound reality. Know it, understand it, realize it, for it's the truth of your own self. It's intimately connected with me. It is going to give me infinite existence, infinite awareness, infinite joy. That is why, however subtle, however difficult, the Upanishads gives you some ideas and asking you to ponder over, to reason out. Ponder, think, manana, listen, shravana, and then contemplate, think over this, manana, meditate, and be free. What did Swamiji say? Know your potentially divine and be happy. This is what the Upanishad wants us, the Shruti wants us. And Shruti is compared to mother. She's a fond mother who is always concerned about our welfare. That's the purpose why the Shruti again and again exhorts us. Don't forget your divine nature. So the first mantra, We call this mantras. They are revelations of the sages. And this Upanishad is named by its first word, Isha. The first mantra says, Om Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha Magradha Kasya Svidhanam. All this, whatever exists in this changing universe, should be covered by the Lord. Protect the self by renunciation. Lust not after anyone's wealth. Profound and simple. All this, what does all this mean? All, the whole of manifested universe, animate, inanimate, everything, which are together held by the laws of causation. All this should be the Supreme Self, the Lord of the universe, that is Godhead, who is the inmost self of all of us, all beings. He is pervading this universe. But when we see through ignorance, through human spectacles, we see it as the material universe. The whole of the manifested universe has been projected from that all-encompassing reality. That is the Paramatman or Ishvara. And the whole universe is filled with the Spirit of God. And our experience of manifold, of the sense world, should be seen in that light. Teach yourself. Swamiji said, teach yourself the infinite glory of the Atman. Purity will come, glory will come, strength will come when this sleeping soul is awakened to its self-conscious activities. Swamiji said this. So, for example, you take the ocean, a bubble in the ocean. What is the bubble? If the bubble rises from the ocean and it stays for some time and it disappears. So the bubble is nothing but water. And when it is a bubble, it is water. And when it stays on the water, it is water. When it disappears, it's back into waters. The same thing. So in the same way, from one infinite consciousness, this universe is projected, and the real nature of the universe is spiritual. Never lose sight of this. Taken by itself, that the universe has, it can't stand. Apart from consciousness, the universe cannot stand. But so engrossing and so, enchanting is the universe that we forget the consciousness behind it. And very happy, we are independent beings. And somebody is holding it behind. No, we forget that. The whole universe is conscious. We feel this because the underlying principle is consciousness. Apart from the remove, for example, you take an ornament, a gold bracelets. So gold bracelet, we say. We remove the gold. Does the ornament remain? Apart from the gold, the ornament has no existence of its own. So apart from consciousness, the material universe has no existence of its own. So Upanishad is trying to tell us this. Don't lose sight of this vision. Take the world, and it's taken the world independent of this. Is very dangerous. All the mischief in the universe is because of this simple reality we do not know. So exploitation and everything. And I don't have to tell you about all those things. Here, the Upanishad said, you have to cover, means that's the fact, that is the truth. Try to see the world not as matter, as spirit. So this is the technique. And protect yourself, or the word Gunjita can be one support. Support yourself through renunciation. What supports us is not what we renounce. What supports us is what we possess, what we enjoy. That is what supports us. There's a false idea. What is the Upanishad asking us to renounce? Renounce the false idea. This is which is conjured by our own ego, the ego-centered world. We have constructed it. So give up that and try to understand the truth in its own perspective, in its own as reality. So all this renunciation of the false idea that the world is multiplicity of the universe is self-sustaining, but it's a part of the consciousness underlining. So lust not. This is very simple. This is the ethical result of practicing Isha, trying to see God in everything. So the practical result is don't covet the wealth of others. It's a very plain statement, but involving high standard of ethics and spiritual values. Whatever is earned through our hard, honest labor, enjoy it. Nobody's asking us not to do that. So in the society, in this world, we are surrounded by bliss and bliss. Only thing is we need to purify our vision and discover and recognize the reality. This is what the first mantra of the Upanishad is saying to us. Next. So this is, you can say, oh, Mataji, this is good for you, not for us. The Upanishads understand. It knows that there is such a thing called as adhikari bheda, what we call in Sanskrit. In English, we call competence. All are not competent for the highest reality. We are graded organisms. We are at the different level of our spiritual evolution. So as such, the Upanishad will not give one jacket for everybody. Tom, Dick, and Harry has to have the same jacket. If not, he has to go without a jacket. No, it has alternative ideals, and it gives you different, it prescribes different disciplines so that you can evolve. So this mantra, what we learned refers to the highest knowledge. It's prescribed more for a competent renunciate. But the generality of the humankind is not prepared for this. They have some idea, some inclination for religious life. They cherish desires, and they are ignorant of the self, the Atman. This is how the ordinary person in the life world is. So, and not only that, we know ourselves, such a person knows himself or herself as a human being. I'm a man. This is what we think, isn't it? This, in all of us, this idea is there. It's ingrained in us. As long as we possess this organism, we know we are human beings. So we are attached to our bodies and desires. So lest, in order to enjoy the world, man might go in unrighteous path. The Upanishad is giving us something for such person also, of a mediocre, what do you call, person. Kuruvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatam sama evam tvai nanyatosti na karma lipyate nare. If one wishes to live 100 years on this earth, that person should live performing action. For you who cherish such a desire and regard yourself as a human being, there is no other way by which you can keep work from clinging to you. Now the Upanishad is here also, you can see this contradiction. The Upanishad is asking you to work, act, and at that same time it is saying to keep you away from work clinging to you. So what does it all mean? So the Upanishad is asking us to live for 100 years. This is the general blessing we always get from our parents. Dhirgayu. Dhirgayu means 100 years. So I mean the Upanishad says 100 years is the span of a human being, provided we have led very ethical, good life. Don't say no, we don't even get good air to breathe. So you cannot expect. But then those who have lived properly, so there is chances that they can live for 100 years. That's a blessing. So 100 years, that long, verily, has been determined to be the length of a human life. That's what the scriptures say. This long life won't do, the quality also matters. So one full span of life lived with zest and joy, with deep interest in life and its affairs. This is what is necessary. For this, we need to have an outlook based on understanding of our real nature and the universe. So if God is true and that he is the self of all, then how do we conduct our little life? The Upanishad says, put God in everything. Sri Ramakrishna said, there are so many zeros. Zeros have no value. Put one, digit one, all the zeros have value. And every additional zero will have more value. So the same thing the philosophy says, when consciousness is removed, the whole world is zero, nothing. Recognize the consciousness. The divine consciousness is infinite, non-dual, eternal, blissful, your own existence. So that gives all the meaning. In the trivials of our life becomes a glow with significance. When this digit one, the divinity is recognized. So ordinary people may not have this understanding. One knows oneself as a psychophysical organism, and also the idea, here I am there to enjoy. So when the Upanishad says action, it means this kind of actions, that is egocentric actions. The body, mind, the intellect are all these instruments. We need to put it into right use, into proper use, make the best use, so that we can create beauty, wealth, harmony, welfare, everything can be done. And do our responsibilities and duties. So there's no other way. There's no other way other than performing. So performance of righteous action, avoiding indulgence. So these are acts that the scriptures ordain us to do. Like for example, in the Bible we have commandments, keeping to the commandments. But the Upanishad says, along with that, go deep and see that there is unity, there is consciousness, there's divinity behind. Just keeping up the commandments won't do. The probing into the nature of the universe and one's own self is equally important. This is what, and so that here the next karma, what it says, there's no other way by which you can keep work from clinging to you. That means here this work means unrighteous, indulgence, the negative aspect of work. So the awareness that I am divine will, or there is something profound in me, will enable me to do righteous action and earn the purity of mind. The third mantra, Robert. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavritaha tamste pretyabhigachanti eke chatmanho janaha. So there's a word of warning. The Upanishad tries to alert us. Verily, those worlds of the asuras, the demons, are enveloped in blind darkness, and thereto they are all repaired after death, who are slayers of Atman. See, Asurya, it may mean even the place where there is no light. It also means demons. Asu means senses. Senses. And Ra means one who takes delight. That is, they who take delight only in sense enjoyment. They can't understand anything higher. Their intellect is so dull and unillumined. Due to this addiction to the sense life, they go to darker regions. That is, they fall from the evolution. The nature had brought us slowly to this level, but the slime of our previous incarnations, previous bodies, the animal bodies, water. So a lot of animal is there. So they draw, they drag, and you fall back. So that's the warning. If you don't heed to your true nature. And what they do, the Upanishad says, they're going to darker regions, constantly holding on to nothing. They can't understand anything else other than that. And we know what a dangerous, what an unethical life they lead. Huh? The slayers of the Atman, it says. Atmahana. Shankara says, avidya doshena vidyamanasya atmanha tiraskaranaat atmahana ityuchyate. Because a person neglects his ever-present self through the evil of ignorance, not spiritual blindness, he is called as one who commits suicide. See, world and worldliness are not the same thing. To live in the world is not the same thing as to be worldly. Sri Ramakrishna says, the boat should be in the water. That's the place it has to be. But the water should not be in the boat. If the water is in the boat, it will sink. If so much of ignorance, so much of desire, so much desire for sense enjoyments are the nature, it will drag us down. We will sink into worldliness. All because we do not recognize the divinity which is behind. Don't even think. Who am I? What am I? Where have I come? What's all this? Where am I going to end? Even by mistake, they won't put such existential questions. It doesn't occur into that intellect because dark. See? Andhena tamasavrita. Dark. Tamas means darkness. In the blinding darkness, the intellect goes. So all the creation, what's the difference between man and other creatures? No creatures in the universe can put such subjective questions. Subjective awareness is not in any other creature other than a human being. That's why we say man is crown of creation. And we should know that through the process of, we have gone through this process of evolution very painfully. Imagine you have gone through 84 million species you have gone through and you have come today as a human being. Everywhere, I just love this David Attenborough's, those planet Earth and all. Everywhere you see, when he shows the life of that, how animal means ahar, nidra, maithun, food, sleep, sex. These are the only three characteristics of animals. We do share, but there's something, nature has given us something better, something higher. We do share these things with our siblings, other siblings of this planet, But then the nature has given us the cerebral system, the capacity to discern, to remember, to imagine, to outgrow your limitations. All this is only a human being can, not any other creature. Mother Nature takes care of them. But a human being is like the eldest son of the family. So in the nature's family, human being is so he has to take the responsibility. We take the reins of our evolution in our own hand when we come to this stage of evolution. And we have come to this threshold of infinity. We have arrived at this level where it's easily possible for us to acquire infinite existence, infinite awareness, infinite bliss. And nobody has done this for you. You have done yourself. Not just lives, I'm saying. Creation after creation after creations we have been going through. This is only not the first time we have come into this Big Bang and we are here. No. Such Big Bangs have taken thousands of time, and thousands of time I and you have come over here. Just imagine the power of enjoyment. At last, we have come to this human being. I've understood that there is something other than enjoyment also. So we have to remember, we have gone through all those stages. We have gone through the suffering. Food is what's important, the animals, and then mating, and then protection. Always there is another someone. So the fear, this is how we get the fear of death. So all this we have gone through. Whenever I see that movies, I tell Sridharaprana, I have gone through all those things. Now be careful. No more. Never build another mansion for you. We have built many mansions. Stop building anymore. No. This is your way to get out of this bonds of matter. So by controlling and disciplining our minds and senses, we can realize our true nature. The nature has endowed with all the equipments that are necessary for this journey. So compared to that, compared to this spiritual suicide, slayer of Atman, the physical body is nothing. Physical death is nothing compared to that. Spiritual blindness is worse than that. Spiritual death is worse than anything else. So the secret of spiritual progress is therefore to cultivate the awareness of Atman, our divine nature, constantly in and through our life's experience. Everything is happening, understandable, but take your hold on your higher self. This is what the scripture says. So while the unillumined worldly slays the Atman and goes back, birth and death, death and birth, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. This goes on. And what happens to the person who has strived through the knowledge of the self? He attains liberation. We have strived for it and have organized our life in such a way according to our goal. We are bound to attain to our goal. And what's the nature of that? Atman, when realized, that is being expounded in the fourth mantra of the Isha Upanishad. Anejadekam manaso javiyo naina deva apnuvan purvam arshat tad dhavato anyan atyeti tishtat tasmin napo matarishva dadhati. That non-dual Atman, though never stirring, is swifter than mind. The senses cannot reach it, for it moves ever in front. Though standing still, it overtakes others who are running. Because of Atman, Vayu, the world soul, apportions the activities of all. Now we come into a, what do you call, a profound reality which cannot be described other than through paradoxical statements. These two, 4 and 5, is very paradoxical. So the non-dual, ekam, the one without the other, ekam. What is this? One without the second, infinite eternal reality, never stirring, never moving, absolutely still. By the virtue of its being singular, simple, because compound means it goes through this process of decomposition, degeneration is there. But simple, that which is simple, always remains the same. So Atman is simple. It's singular because it's infinite. Consciousness is always experienced singular. This is the scientist Schrödinger says, consciousness is never experienced in plural. So by the virtue of its being singular, simple, it remains the same. It is not affected. It does not, there is no other entity to affect its mutability. So the Atman which can, there's no other entity besides Atman which can affect its immutability. It always remains the same. So movement is relative. It's a relative concept. In relation to something, something moves. So when you would take absolute, in relation to what can an absolute move? Infinite, where it can move. The question of coming and going. The person has entered this world. The person is out of this world. This we say from the standpoint of the world, from the standpoint of the body. The person has a body. He has left the body. But what is it that left? It cannot. The infinite consciousness can never leave it. So all this, swifter, again it says, it's swifter than the mind. So this is a paradoxical statement. That which does not stir can't be swifter than the mind. People would wonder, what is this Upanishad trying to tell me? It is saying the Atman is static, and at the same time, it's saying it is swifter than the mind. But there's no contradiction. Both statements are right. Only thing is, they have been given from two standpoints. From the standpoint of the Atman, in its real nature, it's infinite, motionless, actionless. That is, when you remove all the adjuncts, what remains is pure one infinite reality, which cannot move. There is no movement in infinity. That's what it says in its true nature. But when associated with the mind, buddhi, intellect, and the ego, then we say there's a movement in the Atman. The Atman goes faster than, and in a very funny way, the Upanishad says, see, the fastest thing which you can think is light. Light travels fast, but mind travels faster than the light. Because in a twinkling of the eye, we can go away to any part of the universe. And furthest heavens, you can go. The mind goes, isn't it? And the Upanishad says, the commentator says, and what does the mind do when it reaches to the highest heaven? Say Brahmaloka, Vishnuloka, Vaikunta, whatever it is. And then it sees the Atma is already there. The mind travels so fast to find that the Atman is already there. So it outstrips the mind. What does it mean? It means the Atman is even there. There is no place, there's nothing where the Atman, the consciousness is not there. The very fact I perceive something quite far, doesn't matter. Consciousness is also there. If I'm aware of something, I should be aware of myself first. So consciousness is fundamental. It presupposes everything. So the text is trying to convince us that before being conscious of anything, one has to be conscious of oneself. And mind is a material thing. Mind is subtle matter. In the Vedanta, mind is considered as a subtle matter. And it is jada. It's matter. It's that dead, dull matter. It acquires its consciousness through the Atman. It's this consciousness, Atman, which animates my body, mind, intellect. It is like the moon borrowing the light of the sun. The moon, bright and soothing, but its light is not its own light. It is a borrowed light. So the mind, however it might boast of, the buddhi, however it might boast, I am highly intellectual. Behind that, the intelligent principle is there. That we need to acknowledge. So it is from the Atman the mind takes. And then it says, the senses cannot reach. The word used here for the senses is deva. Deva means bright beings. They who illumine. Yes, the senses also illumines. The senses illumine the sense objects. If my eyes are not there, however bright the sun might be, my world will be dark. It's the eyes which are bringing light to my life. So the senses reveal. So that is why it is called as bright bodies. Even the senses are called as devas, they who illuminate. So if mind cannot comprehend the Atman, what to speak of the senses? Senses are quite far away and they are darker, denser, and they are opaque. So the Atman infinite, that shows this Atman is infinite, all pervading. And then another beautiful contradiction is, though standing, it overtakes others. When we were children, when we used to go travel by bus, we would say, Mom, the home, trees are running, houses are running. Trees and houses, everything run fast. And we are static. Kids don't know that trees are static. It's we who are moving. So we attribute through ignorance movement to the Atman. In its own nature, Atman is steady, static, one infinite reality. So the Atman, the pure consciousness, all pervading from its point of view, from its own nature, is not subject to any modification. Nothing can affect the Atman. Our bodies are subject to modification, but not the Atman. So this is what all the contradictions mean. Because of the Atman, here there's another one. Because of Atman, Vayu, the world soul, apportions the activities of all. What does it mean? Vayu means here not air. It is the first manifestation of the absolute, the Hiranyagarbha. You must have been used to these words, Hiranyagarbha, the first evolute, or the first manifestation of Brahman, absolute reality. So in mythology, we see Vishnu lying, and from his womb there is a lotus coming, and Brahma, the four-faced Brahma. He represents the Avyakta, the first manifestation. Vishnu is the all-pervading reality. So that is what that picture, that Vishnu we see lying down on the Shesha. So, and that is, you can call it Ishvara. The other epithets for it is Ishvara, Prana, Sutratma. There are many epithets for this. World soul. the sum totality of the soul. So all this, so the fundamental thing is consciousness. Without that, no action or perception is possible. This consciousness sustains the whole universe. And even this Brahma, this Vayu, this world soul is sustained by it. Only because of the Atman, it is able to function. It's how, like Vedanta and democracy have got some common things. Now we owe the government, we owe the prime minister, isn't it? And the prime minister, now he forms his government and he allots the portfolios for his ministers. So in the same way, here is a world soul allotting all the powers to different cosmic entities. So what the scripture is trying to tell is, without Atman, even the highest cosmic entity, that Hiranyagarbha, are the first, the world soul. What do you say? God, not Godhead, God, Ishvara. He is also powerless and ceases to exist. The smooth functioning of the cosmos is possible because of the eternally conscious Atman exists, the intelligent principle. That's where no clash, no commotion, everything goes very smoothly in the cosmos because he's of the nature of intelligence itself. Since this topic is very subtle and very profound, the Upanishads try to reiterate it again and again. So the fifth mantra also goes in the same run. The fifth mantra says, Tajejati, Tannaijati, Tad Dure, Tad Antike, Tadantarasya Sarvasya, Tadu Sarvasyasya Bahyatah. It moves not. It is far, it is verily near. It is inside, it is outside. Inside all this, and it is outside all this. So this is how it goes. It moves not. It's far, and likewise it is near. It is inside all this, and it is outside all this. Profound ideas where the knowledge fails, and even language fails, and even the thought fails. You just cannot comprehend it. And then just a few suggestions are given. That's all can be given. Sri Ramakrishna says, how much can we express? How much can I explain to you? All I can give you is give some suggestions. You have to reason it out. Go deep into it. That is why manana is very important. Contemplation, analysis, reason, vichara, and then meditate on it. Then we slowly, the ideas will sink into us. So Atman is infinite, immortal. I'll be repeating the same thing. Can't help. The Atman is infinite, immortal. It's the ultimate reality, one and non-dual. It's the self of man and the universe. How are we to express it? How are we to know? How are we to describe? So we can describe something which has certain reference, like say length and breadth or height or width or thickness or color. All these are needed to explain something. But something which is infinite, devoid of all this, how are we to? Even sometimes we fail to describe what space or time is and what to speak of the Atman. So Upanishads ascribe to Brahman or the Atman. It's Brahman and Atman is one and the same, the reality outside and the reality within the psychophysical organism. Only this psychophysical organism is just cutting out. It's separating me. That's all. As consciousness by itself, it can never be divided. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva chestam. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, I am undivided. Look, as if I am divided. The consciousness is undivided. It looks as if divided due to the limiting agents of bodies. We all. So it's not that I have an Atman, you have an Atman. No. As Atman, we are one and non-dual. And so just to deny this, in order to deny that in it, there is no such empirical predicates. It is totally other than what we know, anything what we know. The moment you know, in the Upanishad, the next Upanishad, when we see that the disciple says, I think I have known the Atman. The teacher says, no, you haven't. Your understanding, analysis of Atman is, your reasoning of the Atman is still to be investigated. You need to go further. The moment you say no, so knowing is a limitation. You can now, a knower can never know the self, because Atman is an eternal knower. You know through what? Through buddhi. Buddhi is far away from the Atman. The intellect is far away from. In this apparatus called human being, we have got so many things. The outermost layer, the senses, no, the instruments of the sense. Then there comes the nervous system. Then comes the, the vital energy. And then comes the mind. Then comes the intellect. Then comes the ego. Behind that, the bedrock, the infinite Atman. So many things are there before you. And all these things are animated by the consciousness, which is infinite, one and non-dual. So just to make it. And the only thing which can enable us to understand, at least intellectually, comprehend it intellectually, is space. Space in itself doesn't know inside and outside. Space cannot move. It's everything in this universe is suspended in the space. Planets, the whole cosmos is suspended in the Brahman. In Brahman is the space suspended. The space, Brahman pervades even the space. Everything is pervaded by space, isn't it? We say Vedanta hall. Break the walls. Where is Vedanta hall? It's one infinite space. So it's the walls that they are, it's limiting, and we say this property is ours, this space is ours. So the space itself doesn't know it has any limitation. But our scriptures say everything is contained in space. Space contains everything. That very space is contained by the Brahman. Satyasya Satya. That's why the ultimate, the profound, the beautiful name what you can give for the reality is Satyasya Satya, truth of truth. Space, prana, energy is truth. Yes, Brahman is truth of truth. So Brahman pervades even the space. In and through Brahman, the space pervades. Just if you can imagine, try to imagine how profound, how subtle the idea is. So this is the Brahman which the Upanishad is trying, and that Brahman is you. You are that consciousness. It is so profound. It is intimately connected with our life. That is why the study of Upanishads is very, very important. The study and the pondering of these ideas is very essential because it's completely something pertaining to us. Shankaracharya, in a hymn, Brahmajnanavali, he says, Niradhara Swarupoham Sarvadharohamevacha. I am supportless. What can support me? The infinite being of this. I am the support of everything. I am the support of the whole cosmos. That's your nature. The Brahman is the support of everything. So this is the profound reality that the Upanishad is trying to teach us. So the next 6 and 7, there are beautiful mantras. We will discuss about it in our next month class.
So now we've got time for question, answer, discussion. We've got a roving microphone here to pass around for anyone who'd like to ask. Well, I mean, I'll start it, get it going, Sridharaprana.
Thank you.
So the definition of asuras, the demons, is those who take delight in the senses. And disturbingly, that sounds like about 99.9% of the population. So I'm assuming, though, that of course we're a mix of the divine and the demonic, or the asuric.
Yes, but 1% is somebody there. So it's not some 100% people are not sense bound. We forget to include the 1%. That's enough. Even 1% people, truly, if they attain, they say, if there is one Brahmagnani, the whole, the society or the nation. Swamiji defines civilization. Civilization is not defined by number of industries a country has, but by the number of spiritual people it can produce. If a civilization cannot produce spiritual giants, what does that society says? That society which cannot produce a spiritual aspirant, knowers of Brahman, that is no society. It is better for that society to go into the forest. The highest realities should become positive, practical. That's the standard of society. So even if a few people are there, that's all right. But all are not completely, utterly worldly. I don't think people are like that. To some extent, maybe, I do not know. But yeah, sometimes, even I'm speaking contradictorily. So that's how it is. Asu means senses. Can't think of anything higher. Can't think of anything higher. Intensely enjoying the senses. Sri Ramakrishna says, when an entity passes through different organisms and comes to the level of human evolution, to that level, maybe for the first time, the organism is having a human body. You understand? First time. So it's it's so strong. It's the intensity of enjoyment is so strong, because the first time it has got, because in other organisms, only one sense becomes profound. Like, for example, in the elephant, skin; in the deer, the ears; in the fish, water. These are the senses which can take them away. But in human beings, we have got 5 senses. The whole world impinges on our senses. So many things to enjoy. We enjoy the world with all the 5 senses. So the intensity is very, the enjoyment is very intense. And later on, slowly, after many manifestations, many times, being born as a human being, dying, birth and death, so slowly, that desire may come. I don't say the desire, because desires never come down. We have got the very good example of Yayati in our Purana. Yayati was a king who enjoyed the senses intensely, but old age sets in. So, but he found that his desire for the enjoyment had not. So the myth, it's a story, mythology. So he is so intense was his desire to enjoy the world that he exchanged his old age with his youthful son. And one more course of enjoyment he went through, but he found no, the intensity hasn't. Then he made a statement. Desires can never be satiated by enjoying. It is like pouring more ghee into the fire. It will burn all the more. It will never. So only through reason you can overcome. Only through reason. Until and unless the society gets higher ideas, there's no chance.
Shruti, you've got your hand up. I hope we're going to be able to hear you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Shruti.
Thank you for the lovely session. I got a lot to learn from this. My question is related to our true nature that we are trying to understand. What is the source of the negative aspects of our nature, like greed, selfishness, jealousy, or laziness, which I think probably comes from the desire to enjoy the senses? But is that also part of the grand nature manifesting in us in some way for our learning? Or is it coming because of our ignorance of our true divine nature?
You have already answered it. Ignorance. Ignorance goes behind, goes in front. Ajnana, avidya, kama. These are the three. Ignorance of one's nature. It's because I'm ignorant of my own true nature, and I consider myself to be a psychophysical organism, a human being. I see, this is how the nature tells me. Here is the world of senses. Go enjoy it. So for that enjoyment, I have to pay, I have to work. So the primary thing is the ignorance. Ignorance is that. Learning is an inferior thing because your knowledge itself. In essence, in your true essence, your awareness itself, your knowledge itself, because you do not know your knowledge, nature, so you are learning it. So learning and knowing is all a limitation. Your knowledge itself, your awareness itself. Life, light, love. These are the shadows of Sat, Chit, Ananda. Life, light, love are the shadows of existence, absolute consciousness, absolute bliss. So these are shadows. However, we may think these are wonderful things to be achieved, but they are still shadows because you are existence itself. Why bother about life? And why to crave? I don't say you have got to go and commit suicide. What I mean is you needn't have to be afraid that you're losing your life. Death should not be a frightening thing. Of course, because we are in this body, as a biological thing, a little bit of a fear or what do you call hesitation might be there, but that can be easily overcome. The fear of death should never be, because you are existence itself. What can be afraid of you? Why should be afraid of any of that? So, and infinite consciousness, what is there? The whole nature is nothing but a book for you to learn. You learn it. And the moment you realize nature is there to unfold your own true nature. This whole nature is there just for your unfoldment. It's not for your enjoyment. It's for your unfoldment. Once when you realize it, your infinite nature, finished. The book is over. Throw it. Sri Ramakrishna says. As long as you do not possess something, you need to learn. The moment you possess it, there's no more. Should one go on learning the scriptures? No. Understand it, work on it, and reap the fruit. Be happy. Feel your infinite nature. And bliss. Why should be you, the prince, the king? Your very joy itself. Why should you go to the threshold of the senses to seek enjoyment, to beg for joys? Go to the doorstep of the eyes, go to the doorstep of ear, go to the doorstep of mouth. Somebody says a good word, I'm happy. Somebody says rebukes, I'm gone. Just sound, nothing else. Who can insult me? Or who can elevate me? I'm already elevated. Where else can you take me? I'm the one infinite being. So try even to think in these lines, it is so, what do you call, elevating. It gives us so much joy. We are all in the monomaya koshas, intellectual. Nothing is given to us in realization, I understand. But seriously, to reason in this line itself is so joyous. Any question?
So, inviting more questions.
Well, that's nothing more.
Lots to absorb and realize.
Yeah, slowly. Let the idea sink in. But it is nice to think in these lines. Is also, it's very nice. You feel happy. You're giving food to that intellect. And so the Upanishad is just so musical. Even our Swami Brahmananda Maharaj used to say, even when we feel naturally human beings, sometimes we feel stressed or depressed. These things come. Just chant the Gita, chant the Upanishads. You see, it elevates the mind. So it's so beautiful because these are all the mantras. These are all, what do you call, the realizations of the great rishis. It's out of compassion, out of love for the posterity, they have just jotted it out. Such high thoughts, when you are thinking deeply, somebody comes and disturb. It's really disturbing. Somebody comes to talk to you when you're thinking something very deeply, very profound. So activities are very difficult. So from that height, they have come down to jot out these things for us. Means just imagine how much of compassion they must have had. Sri Ramakrishna says somebody makes fire and warms up, then turns off the fire and goes. And somebody says we'll keep it. Somebody can warm up themselves. Somebody digs the well and then throws off all the spade and the rope and the things. But someone will keep it aside. Someone may use it. So like that, the rishis, they have crossed this relativity and have reached the absolute shores. And they have left these things for us so that we can also navigate through this relative existence and reach our abode, which is absolute reality. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sridharaprana ji. And we'll have the next Isha Upanishad talk will be on the 18th of July, and it will conclude in the following month. Next Sunday, Sridharaprana ji will be giving a talk on Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Pravrajika ji will be in Adelaide next weekend, and this weekend she's in Melbourne, and having been in India last weekend. Lots of traveling. And then Gayatri will be back on hand for the Sunday the 28th. She'll be giving the talk. We're not having the Friday night discussion next Friday night because there'll be we'll all be in Adelaide. There'll be the talk there next Friday night. But the spiritual evening discussion will be on Friday the 26th of May. That will be the next one. And as we've been starting to announce, we're confirming now there will be a retreat at Dharma the first weekend in June. It'll be from the Saturday evening through to the Sunday afternoon. And if you're planning to come, you probably have to let us know pretty quickly because there is a group going for that retreat. It's mainly the ladies who attend the monthly Bhagavad Gita class conducted by Gayatri ji via Microsoft Teams. So that group will be going. We're not sure how many of them are going at this stage, but certainly let us know as soon as you can if you're interested in coming along on the first weekend of June. We have a donation plate and donation box up the back. And thanks for joining us. especially Mother's Day, where you were not sure how many could make it. So extra welcome that you could come and spare some time today. And thanks to those also joining us via Zoom.